That was our sole motivation, was to give her the answers that she deserved.
As he was the intended target of this attack, and he was the only person who was shot.
Puffy has been making money off of Biggie's name for longer than Biggie was alive.
26 years after the tragic shooting in Los Angeles that took life of Biggie Smalls, the police seem to have lost all hopes to solve this case. But Biggie's mother, Voletta Wallace, relentlessly trying to get to the truth behind that tragic night, and in the light of newly surfaced evidence, she is very optimistic about the arrest being made soon. And she even made some shocking revelations, assuming that the person arrested would be nonetheless Biggie's former boss and music mogul scene Diddy Combs, because it's he who she blames for what had happened to her son.
And people need to see that part of him that nobody else knew.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Celeb Live Channel. It's been almost 3 decades since that fatal night on March 9, 1997, but questions still swirl over who was responsible for hiring a hitman to gun down the rap legend Biggie Smalls. While several people have been accused and some high-profile figures were named as the organizers of this crime, no arrests were ever made. However, Biggie's mom, Voletta Wallace, is now coming forward with more revelations, and it seems like in the light of recently reopened case of Tupac's shooting, she offered some shocking details to the police about Diddy's possible involvement in taking the life of her beloved son.
We don't know anything about many of these people.
Voletta has always been suspecting that Diddy was mistreating her son, and despite signing Biggie as his artist and working with him, it felt like the music mogul was using him to get revenue. Even in her book, she mentioned that Biggie mistakenly believed that Puffy was his friend. The truth is, Christopher accepted the illusion of a friend and mentor for about $25,000. That's the amount Puffy lured my son with. It was enough money to make my son believe that Puffy was ready to do anything for him. Now, Voletta Wallace has always been trying to find more truth about Diddy's involvement in her son's tragic demise, and suspecting that the music mogul paid off the police and the witnesses who could shed more light on this crime. She even sued the lap, believing that they've been intentionally dragging the case unsolved for this long, while the culprit behind gunning down her 24-year-old son is still out and enjoys his lavish lifestyle.
And they just kept hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. Every one of their witnesses were getting discredited.
It took Voletta Wallace a lot of time and money to build her theory, and in the end, she is convinced that she knows the name of the person who wished to unalive her son in his prime years, and she even blamed the Lapt for covering all the exposing traces that could lead to the potential culprit behind this crime. As she said, "I have a very good idea who unalived Christopher, and I genuinely believe that the Lapt knows exactly who did too." According to her, there's a huge team working to hide the truth from her and all the fans of her son, and the police play a role in covering the criminal traces and intentionally misleading honest officers who want the justice to be served. As Voletta said in one of her statements, they've done their investigation, but they just refuse to move forward. I don't know why they haven't arrested who's involved. It seems to me that it's one giant conspiracy, and someone is definitely being protected somewhere down the line. Finally, after all these years of waiting, Voletta can get her closure, since the speculations about the additional evidence have been found. While everyone around was saying her to move forward, since the case seemed to be as cold as ice, deep inside this woman knew the truth would be out sooner or later.
And should I embrace it? I personally cannot.
The fact that there was so much mystery and lies in this case only made Voletta dig deeper and conduct her own investigations. And when talking to many people who knew her son and even were at the scene of crime at that tragic night, she came to the conclusion that the person who's been tampering with witnesses and evidence was nonetheless Biggie's mentor and so-called friend Diddy. And for more than 2 decades, he's been hushing this case in order to keep his name clear.
I'm gonna fight for my reputation. I'm gonna fight for the honorable man I am, the righteous king that I am.
Of course, Voletta Wallace isn't the first to weigh in on Biggie's killing, and she certainly won't be the last. However, what makes many fans believe that Biggie's demise was pretty beneficial for his mentor is the fact that he made a lot of money by exploiting his legacy. As one person commented, "I have always had that guts feeling if Diddy has anything to do with this. It always felt like Diddy was being overshadowed by Biggie." And another user added, "It's crazy how Diddy Dunn made more money off Biggie name than Biggie made while he was alive." Now, Voletta says that despite being Biggie's mentor and producer, and also being present at the scene of that tragic shooting, Diddy is actually keeping a lot of things hidden about that night. But he doesn't even need to testify against himself because other people already did it for him.
And you really want to find out the truth, you need to get as many different perspectives on things as you can.
Diddy wasn't the only person who was present at the scene of crime that night, and the music mogul's bodyguard Gene Deal already weighed in his opinion about the inconsistencies his boss had said to him that evening. In one of his interviews, Gene shared the details of Biggie's final moments from his point of view, and apparently, there were many clues that pointed to Diddy's involvement in this shady story. As Gene Deal said, there were many suspicious things, and although he didn't directly blame his ex-boss for hiring a gang to execute his own artist, all his conclusions lead to this. As the bodyguard said, keeping the secret while watching Biggie's mom crying and demanding justice was too much for him.
I wouldn't put nobody in my shoes because I don't feel like they could handle it.
Gene Deal recalled the details of the March 1997 night. And what is the most shocking in this story? He said that his boss, Puffy, didn't want his bodyguard to join them on a fatal ride. Before we left Andre Harrell's house, Puff told me I didn't have to go. Now I went because I knew that somebody was going to pass away that night. Somebody was going to get shot. Apparently, Diddy had made arrangements in advance, and he didn't want more witnesses who could later accuse him of being involved in this crime.
It just hurt because they lie too much, man. A lot of this shit be lies the way they put it together.
And it doesn't look like a coincidence for Gene Deal that Diddy was trying to have as less witnesses as possible during that night. And here's another clue that make everyone, including Voletta Wallace, believe that Biggie's fatal shooting was the result of his cruel mentor's plan. According to Gene Deal, the late rapper planned to leave Bad Boy Records behind for a better deal elsewhere. Just before his tragic demise, Biggie made moves to leave Bad Boy for a more lucrative deal worth more than $60 million. Deal said he saw Big's Bad Boy contract when he had to watch over Diddy's briefcase during a flight, and it was only $250,000. So, by making this sinister move, Diddy made sure that the world would remember Biggie as the Bad Boy Records artist forever, so he could legally use his music and keep earning money on his name.
I think the contract was for so many years for like $62 million. It comes out to like $62 million.
And it feels like Diddy somehow learned about Biggie's plan to get rid of his so-called mentorship, because after Tupac's tragic demise, Biggie was the next big name in the hip-hop world. And even though Diddy signed him at an early age and promoted his art, it's actually felt like Biggie was the reason why Bad Boy Records became so successful. So it's natural that the rapper felt like he was solid enough to go on his own and earn way more money that the music mogul had been offering him. So Voletta Wallace now thinks that money is the only reason why her son is now 6 feet under, and it makes her infinitely sad to see Diddy using the fruits of her son's labor. As she said, any mother who has lost a child knows exactly the devastation I feel. It's the worst pain in the world, and one that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. Now, her only hope that the new investigators will be honest and unshakable under Diddy's generous offers or threats, because everything she ever wants to be at peace is to see this man behind the bars.
It hurts even more, especially when you know the truth is just there staring you.
And not only her, there's nothing more than Biggie's fans would like to see than watching the person responsible for this shooting to be sentenced to many years behind the bars, and they take it to social media to express their hopes. As one person commented, 2023 will be the year Tupac and Biggie Smalls' family's fans get justice for their demises. And another user added, the amount of blood Puffy has on his hands. I've been waiting for the truth to come out for years, and it's finally starting to. While there's a lot of bribery and corruption in the music industry, even the wealthiest and the most powerful people cannot hide when it comes to facts. And what do you think about this, guys? Will Diddy be charged with orchestrating this crime as well after the additional investigation? And will more witnesses come forward after Voletta's words? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm eager to know what you're thinking. And in the meantime, check my other videos about the dark side of the hip-hop industry. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, and I promise to be back very soon.